babies, today we are gonna do kind of a little bit of a birth vlog. A lot of y'all have been asking what time he was born, what day he was born, how much did he weigh, how long was he, and a lot of y'all have been asking what's wrong with him. I'm not necessarily what's wrong with him, but a lot of y'all have been asking like what happened to his legs, and y'all don't say it like that. Y'all say it in like the nicest way ever. Y'all say like I don't know, but y'all just like texted me and said like, hey, like I noticed the baby like has like casts on. Why does the baby have casts on? We're gonna go into a little bit of depth of that, and we're not really gonna talk too much about that in this video. We're gonna talk about that maybe in the next video, but this video is basically just gonna be like him, but not about his condition. I think it's a condition. That's gonna be saved for another video that hopefully Rolly wants to be in, so we can talk about it together and let y'all know. So next video, y'all stay tuned and we'll let y'all know what's up. But let's just go on and talk about the real shit that happened and what was going on. Because let me tell you something, you never know that you're like in active labor. You never know if you're really going through labor. You never know what's up. Like, you never really know until it's happening. But let me go ahead and tell y'all what was happening. On the 15th of June, I was having like, well, the start like in the AM of the 15th of June, I had woken up in the middle of the night, and I woke up and like the bed was wet, and I was like, what's up, you know? And I was like, did my water break? And I was freaking out because like there was like this big old wet spot that like I woke up and like I had felt wet, like if I had peed, but the bed was wet, and I was like, what? So then I like went to the restroom and I went pee, and then I went back to bed and I was like, okay, maybe it's nothing. So I got a towel and I put it under me, and then I went to sleep again, and then I woke up again and it was like a lot more liquid, and I was like on my back, and I had like my butt crack.
Mommy.
Huh? Yeah. My butt crack was like soaked, and the bed was soaked, and like my back was kind of soaked, and my underwear was soaked, and I was like, what's happening? And I told Rolly, and I woke him up and I was like, hey, like the bed's wet and I don't know why. And I was like, I think my water broke. I was like, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, because this never happened with Azalea. With Azalea, like my mucus plug had fallen out whenever I went to the restroom. So when I wiped after using the restroom, like I saw my mucus plug like on the toilet paper, and it was like a bunch, and then it just kind of like kept on coming, but it was never like liquidy. Like if I had like peed myself, it was never like that. Like there was never no mucus after that. It was just that, and then like a couple days later I went into labor with Azalea. But with him I was like drenched, so I would tell Rolly, I was like, let's just wait a little bit and let's just wait to see if there's more liquid coming out, and then we'll go to the hospital. And I called my sister and I was like, hey, like there's like liquid coming out of me, and she was like, I don't remember what she said, but I was just like letting her know, and I was telling her like what was happening. And like a couple hours later, I told Rolly, okay, it was like in the morning, like maybe like 9 in the morning, and I told Rolly, so we're gonna have to go we're gonna have to move we're gonna have to go drop off Azalea with my dad, and then we're gonna have to go to the hospital. So I called my dad and I told my dad, hey, we're gonna drop off Azalea, and then we're gonna go to the hospital. So move, I'm trying to talk to them. So hold on. Stop. So then I go and I drop off Azalea, and then we're headed to the hospital. So we park and we walk all the way to the hospital. We parked like pretty far from the hospital. So then we walked and we went in and oh, Daddy. So we went in and I told the lady, I was like, I think my water broke, I'm not sure. And she was like, are you still leaking a lot? And I was like, not a lot, but like there's still stuff coming out. And she was like, oh, your water didn't break. She was like, but I can check you. And I was like, no, it's fine. And like she said my water didn't break, so I was like, whatever. So throughout the day I was continuing to leak, and I was continuing to have like little baby contractions. Like they weren't bad, they were just like a little bit, like a contraction here, a contraction there, but they were like lasting, they were irregular. They would last like 2 minutes apart, then they would last a minute apart, and then they would go back to 5, and then I wouldn't have them for like 2 hours, and then they'll be back to like 2 minutes, and then a minute apart, and then back to 5 minutes, and then like an hour, but not like in that order, but kind of like mixed around in that order, because I had downloaded the contraction app and it was telling me, oh, it's time to go to the hospital, pack your bag. And I was like, nah. So then I would like go on throughout my day, and let me remind you, we had Tori's kind of like, we had like a pool party all the way in Somerset for like Tori, so we went over there and we were at the pool party. But I had told Tori, I was like, hey, I think I'm gonna go home because I was having like really bad contractions. So then I had went home, and that's whenever all that had happened. And they were like, oh, you're gonna have the baby on my birthday. You can have the baby on my birthday. And I was like, nah. And so all that had happened, and then the 15th came, and it was Tori's birthday. And that morning, I had told Rolly, I was like, hey, you know, I'm having really bad contractions, and these contractions, I had to take a shower, and they were feeling like horrible. And we went to the hospital in the morning again, and I'll insert a clip now. I've been experiencing contractions for like an hour already, and I've been having them last night too, but they were further apart, but now they're closer, and we're going to the hospital. So, and basically I was like having a lot of pain, and I wasn't having it. So we went to the hospital again, and this time I had told the lady that I was having contractions, and so they weighed me, then they took me to the back, and I had laid on the bed, and they gave me a paper to like fill out and make a call to this lady to register into the thing. And I was like, I already registered online, and they were like, no, you need to register every single time you come in. And so I filled out the paperwork, I laid in bed, and so I filled out the paperwork, I laid in bed. I had doctor after doctor come in and stick their hand in me, and they were like, oh, you're 7 centimeters dilated, we're just gonna wait a little bit. And they were like, we're gonna see how, they were like, oh, well, you're in active labor, but we need to make sure about something. And there was a guy doctor who came in, and I don't like guys touching my cheek. So this other guy came, and he was like, oh, do you mind if I touch your stomach? I I don't know. So there they were, like touching my stomach, and the other guy had come in. The guy he was training had come in and checked my stomach, and he was like pushing on it, and he was like, yeah, I can feel the baby head down. And so basically they were just like, okay, so we're gonna go ahead and take you to a room. And Rolly wasn't with me because they made him go to the car because the whole coronavirus. So they took me to a room, and once I got in that room, they had done like a little bit of stuff, and they were like connecting me to wires and putting like this IV stuff in. And when they put the IV in, they put it like right here. I still have like a mark, if you can see that, like it's like right there. They put the IV in right here. When they put it in, like blood was like falling all over the floor, blood was like splashing everywhere, like Bloody Mary everywhere. And the lady was like, oh my god, you have a good vein. And I was like looking at my fucking blood on the floor, and I was like, the fuck? And she was like, I got it on my shoes. And she got it on the bed, and she got it on the floor, and she was like freaking out because there was like blood everywhere. So she had to get like paper towel after paper towel after paper towel to clean it up. And then she didn't even tighten it right, so another lady had to come in and tighten it, and there was like blood going through my like IV and stuff, and it was just horrible. Like, no, just no. So after that, Rolly came in, and he was just laying there, and they had like connected that like contraction counter and everything, and I was like having contractions, and they were like crazy, and I was like dilating, but I wasn't dilating fast enough, I guess. But like every time I took a nap, I would dilate faster, and I was like, okay. So like I would kind of like try to like sleep, but I'd only be sleeping for a little bit because the contraction would be like, boom, bitch, caught you out of nowhere. And then I was like, ugh, and like fucking horrible. And I was like trying to like do it without the epidural, because like my grandma was like, don't do it with the epidural. And I was like, okay, you know, let me fucking try this time, because with Azalea I made it to 8 centimeters dilated, and then they gave me the epidural, but the epidural didn't freaking work, and I could still feel everything when I was pushing her out. So I was like, nah, fuck that shit. So then I had gotten the epidural like a little bit later, when I was like maybe like, I think I was like 9 centimeters dilated, 8.5, 9. And they came in, did the epidural, and the lady had told me like lean like this and kind of like make your back like, you know, like arched. But it was kind of hard because she was in the way, and I couldn't like get down because she kind of like was holding my knees together, and she was like trying to push me down and like leaning over me. And then the guy was like, curve your back more. And if you know me, I don't like to like talk to people, so I was kind of like, and Rolly wasn't in the room because they had made him get out of the room, and I didn't want to tell her move. I can't move because you're right there like holding my knees together, like what do you want me to do? And she was just trying to push me down, and the baby was like freaking all fucking squished up, and I was like, oh, I can't fucking breathe, bitch. And basically he finally got it, and it was an epidural. I mean, it hurts. It's not that bad, but I'm pretty sure your pain tolerance is lower than mine, and it's gonna hurt. But after that had happened, I laid down, and I was like feeling good, like so good. I was feeling so good, and I was like contraction after contraction. I was like, what contraction? And Rolly's like, that was like a high one. He's like, did you feel it? And I was like, nah. So I mean, the epidural feels real good. You want to get the epidural, get it. And then hours had passed by, and I was like, I think I was texting Tori. I don't remember who I was texting. I was kind of like out of it. So that day was her birthday, so it was June 15th, the day that I went into the hospital. So I was there, and it was probably like already like 10 p.m. already, and the nurse had come in, and she was like, how you doing? So she checked my cervix again, and she was like, oh, it's like 9 and something. 9.5, I think. And she was like, okay, so we're gonna go ahead and call the doctor and see about him. And my doctor wasn't available because I guess she was off already. So they had a guy come, and I was like, this is why I like did my OBGYN with a lady, because I didn't want a guy to do it because their hands are bigger and it's gonna hurt. And I was like, so this weird looking guy came up in here, and he was like, stuck his hand inside me, and I was like, ugh, and I was just looking at Rolly, and I was like crying. Not that it hurt, but like, it's a guy. I mean, you like guys going and like, you rather have like a guy OBGYN, okay, you know, but like, not me. But all that had went down, and for some reason he left the hospital. So his little nasty ass left the hospital, went somewhere else, and was like in like 30 minutes away from where the hospital was. And the lady had already put my legs up on the leg things, and she was like looking at my vagina, and she's like, oh, you're at 10 already. She was like, let's practice your pushes. And I was like, okay, like, my second child, I know what to do. And move, Zayla, can you move? So this guy, she goes and she calls him, and she's like, okay, we're ready. She's gonna be ready to push already. She's like, how far are you? And he's like, oh, I'm 30 minutes away. I'll be there. I'll be leaving right now. So it's already probably like 11:30, and he's like, I was like, okay. So it's like probably like 11:25, and move. So it's like 11:25, and I'm like telling Tori, I'm like, the baby's not gonna be born on your birthday. And she's like, oh, it is. And I was like, no. And she was like, yes. And I was like, I didn't want that because I didn't want their birthdays to clash, but she wanted it to. And I was like, no, not having it. And she was like, yes. So then I was like, the baby might be born on her birthday. Like, I was like totally thinking this. And then 30 minutes goes by, and she calls the doctor up, and she's like, hey, are you almost here yet? He's texts back, and he's like, no, on my way, like something minutes. And she's like, okay. So she tells me, and she's like, if you feel a contraction, go ahead and push. Because she had put my legs down already, so I was like laying down, and she was like, if you're having a contraction, just push, but don't push too hard, just like push a little bit. And I was like, okay. So then I was like I'd feel like a contraction, I was like, you know, like a little, And so another 30 minutes goes by, and it's already like freaking 12:30 something, and this guy had taken like an hour to come. So he comes in, and he's like, oh, you're ready? And I was like, yeah, like, what took you so long? And so the guy comes in, and he's like getting everything set up. They bring in this thing, they take the bed apart, they throw my legs up there. And this is like taking forever, And so at this point, it's probably already like 12:40, and they finished taking the bed apart, and my legs are up there, and they put like this plastic screen. She's like, oh, you tested negative for COVID, but we're just gonna put this up as a precaution. So I'm like, okay, like clear plastic, like the fuck, I ain't sick, bitch. And then after that, my legs are up there, he's looking at my cooch, and he's just staring at it, and I'm like, so after all that, he comes down, he sits right in front of my cooch, and it's just wrong. So then the baby's doctor is over there like warming it, like it's already warmed, but she's like getting everything ready. And then the other lady who's like helping the doctor, I guess, she's over here telling me, like, looking at the contractions, and she's like, oh, she's having a contraction. So they're like, remember, push for 10 seconds. And she's like, push. And I'm like, this ain't my first rodeo, I know what to do. And so all that goes, and then the lady's like, okay, you ready, mom? Get ready to push. And she's like, oh, she's having a contraction. She's like, okay, push. And so like I'm pushing, and I'm like, you know, like trying to push a massive shit out. And I had him in 55 seconds. And I will enter the clip now.
Alright, take a deep breath in and push. Hard, Mom. Push, 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 push. Excellent. Keep going, keep going. Take a deep breath. Go right back into it, Mama. We gotta get baby out. Let's go. Alright, take a deep breath and push. Okay, a little more. A little. Come on, go. Deep breath and push again, Mom. Good job. Push, push, push. Slow down. Okay. He's on one. Push, almost out. There we go. 54. Midnight 54. Good job, Mom.
So, Mom, he has, we'll have the pediatrician look. His feet are kind of turned inward. Do they have anything on the ultrasound? Okay. And then, so breathing wise, he's good. He's just got a little bit of inward rotation of his ankles, and we'll have the pediatrician look at that. And kind of the same with his hands. So we'll have them take a look at that.
Okay, so after I pushed him out, they handed him to me. Well, they cleaned him up, and then they kind of they didn't clean him up. They kind of just like suctioned it out, you know. And then they handed him to me, and he was like full of like blood and stuff. And I was just holding him, and I was just like, I was crying, and I was like so happy. And Rolly was like nowhere to be found. He was just gone. He was just gone. So I'm holding him and I'm crying, and Rolly goes to go sit down on the chair, and this motherfucker is like, you don't even know where he's at. He didn't even know where he's at. So he's sitting on the chair and he's like just looking at the ground, trying to breathe. He's over here dying. Fucking retard. So I'm like, whatever, bro, go die over there. And I keep on telling him, Rolly, because at this point they had taken the baby back, and they were like cleaning him off and doing all this stuff. And Rolly goes to go look at the baby, and I'm like, hey, go look at the baby. And so finally they hand me back the baby, and then they're like talking to me, and they're like, his feet are curved and his hands are curved, and they're telling me that, did I know, did my OBGYN tell me when they had sonograms? And I was like, no, like everything was perfect. Like nobody told me anything. And they were like, they didn't see it in the ultrasounds or the sonograms. And I was like, no, nobody told me anything. And so they were like, okay. And I was just like, whatever, my baby's perfect. Like I wasn't like thinking about like anything other than the fact that he's here. Like he's actually here. Like I was waiting so long for him, and I had him, and I was 38 weeks. I was 38 weeks on the dot. Everything was perfect. I was like so happy, and I was crying, and Rolly was freaking out, sitting down the whole time. So then they're like pulling out my, like I'm pushing, they're like taking my placenta out while I'm holding the baby and all that and stuff, and you don't want to know about that. But the funny thing is that whenever I was pushing him out, they were like, oh, I see the head, and they're like, oh, you're almost there, Mom, like you got this, and just like one big push and he'd be out. And whenever he came out, like I didn't feel it with Azalea. I guess I wasn't like thinking about it. And like when he came out, it was like the weirdest thing, because whenever he came out, like it felt like my stomach went, and the baby just went kind of like, and it was like this big like you know when you have like you blow up a plastic bag and you kind of like pop it, like how you feel like that gush of air that comes out of it when you pop it. It felt like that, and I didn't feel that with Azalea, and my stomach like completely dropped, like it just went, and it was weird. And we ended up staying in that room then for the night because there was no beds available where like upstairs, I guess. There was no rooms available, like they were all occupied. So we stayed in that room, and like I was like having like really bad trouble like trying to like get up. Like my back was like still numb, and like my legs had felt weird. I didn't feel that with Azalea. Like with Azalea, I was able to walk around, I was walking everywhere, I was fine. And with him, it was like a whole different experience. Like I'm telling you, you never know that you're going into labor until it's actually happened. Like people can tell you, oh, you know, this is what's happening when you're going into labor, this is the signs that you should look for. They're all different. With Azalea, I was having contractions and I didn't even know. I went to the hospital and I couldn't even sit down on my butt, and that was like one thing I was looking for with him, was like me not being able to sit down. Never happened with him. It was just I didn't even really know until my contractions started getting like worse. And I don't know how I knew it was like contraction. I just had like a gut feeling. But with Azalea, I didn't know anything, I guess because it was my first baby. But what I'm trying to tell you, is that every experience is different. So don't try and be like asking other people like what happened so I know what to look for. It's not the same. So after that, they had taken us to a new room in the morning, and we got settled up there, and they were constantly taking him out of the room. There was constantly doctors coming in, and it's not like the usual like, oh, doctors come in and check on you and check your IV and push your stomach and all this. It wasn't like that. It was like doctors coming in and doing like x-rays on his body, and they were just like a whole bunch of weird doctors, like for like neurologist doctors, and like I don't know what they're called, but there was like a lot of doctors just taking him out of the room, and they were like, oh, we need to do this, and we need to do this, and we need to take this test, and we need to make sure this is like this, and we need to take this. And I was just like, I wasn't there. Like I feel like I wasn't there because I was like where are you taking him? Like they're like, oh, we're gonna come get him at this time, and I was like, and then remind you again, I don't have a voice, like, but with him, I would like look at Rolly and I'd be like looking at him, and I just like where's he going? Like he was just constantly not with us all the time. Like I'd pump and I'd only be able to pump and like give them the bottle, and they'd have to feed him. And they were like, okay, we're gonna feed him right now, and I would like try to make sure that he was fed before they took him, because they were like, okay, we're gonna take him in an hour. So we were ready to go the day like after the 2 days were over with, like, you know, like the whole stay, you get healed, the mom's okay, the baby's okay, you go home. But like they were like, oh, we have to wait for this doctor to check him, we have to wait until his tests come back, and there's a lot of tests going on, so the things like kind of taking forever. So I was like, so they finally had gotten his results back, and they were like, okay, you're able to go home. So we were just waiting on the discharge papers, and then finally the discharge papers came back, and we were able to go home. He weighed 8 pounds 4 ounces, and he was 19.5 inches. So when we went home, we had a pediatrician appointment the next day, so we took him to the pediatrician, And from the pediatrician, we were supposed to get a referral to go to, basically like a referral to see about his feet. So we had to take him to her for her to tell us, oh, he does have this, and which he has is arthrogryposis. I don't know how to say that. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I'll insert it how it's spelled, and you can go ahead and search it up for yourself. And if you're too lazy to search it up, just wait for our next video where we talk about it and we bring him into the video and show you everything. But yeah, so I think we're gonna save his UT Health appointments and showing you his cast and all that for the next video, because he's kind of fussy. Every time he gets his cast, he got his cast put on today, so when he gets his cast put on, he's kind of fussy and he's like crying and he doesn't want to eat. It's kind of like if he's sick, like he doesn't want to eat and his feet hurt. So when you kind of pick him up, you have to be like really gentle. You change his pamper, you gotta be really gentle, because his foot, you can imagine, let me show you my foot. His foot is like, I don't know. His foot is basically like, this is a foot, right? His foot is bent like this, like, but like more like a 90-degree angle. I'm trying to show you, I can't really show you, but his foot has been at a 90-degree angle, and they stretch it with the cast. So basically his foot's like this, and then they stretch it. They kind of like try to stretch it. Well, it doesn't go all the way like this yet, but it's like this, and they stretch it as far as they can like this, and then they put like a bandage, like a cloth fabric type stuff, and then they put like the kind of like the belly casket. You know how to put a cast on? So you put the cast on and it stays like that, and then they like wrap some more like cotton bandage over it, and then they put some more cast stuff around it. So basically they're like stretching his foot out, but he's kind of fussy. That's basically the story of what was going on and what happened in the labor room. I know it's kind of everywhere. It's trashy as the video, and I probably should have like wrote down some notes and like went off of it like that, but it's kind of hard sticking to notes because my ass will like jump back from one thing to the other, like I was right now. So basically it's like the same video, so you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. But yeah, I'll probably try to get Rolly in the video maybe on Saturday. Well, not on Saturday. Tomorrow's Saturday. So. Hold on. So he works tomorrow, so probably on Sunday we'll probably do like a sit down video and tell you a little bit about arthrogryposis, and I don't think I'm saying that right, but we'll go ahead and show you some befores and afters and videos and a little bit of stuff. So Azalea, you scared your brother. You scared him. So we'll go ahead and save that for the next video. But if you could, go ahead and like this video. I know it was kind of a ramble, probably like 30 minutes long. You probably didn't even want to sit through it, but you probably did. But if you did, go ahead and comment, I made it all the way to the end of the video. Or comment something like, or comment something corny, like comment corny. But don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and come back for another video. Or go and watch some of my old videos that you haven't seen. They're kind of trashy, but I like them, so you better like them. But bye guys.